Sons of the Forest is an upcoming survival horror video game that is being developed and published by Endnight Games. The title is the sequel to 2014's The Forest. The original was a massive success and went on to sell over 5 million copies by 2018, and it's not surprising that a sequel is in development. Let's break down the trailers, reveal, and more. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about Sons of the Forest. The first mention of a sequel to The Forest was in December of 2019 at the Game Awards. The studio released the first trailer for the game. The trailer was relatively minimal, even though it is over a minute long. The trailer starts with a helicopter crash after the protagonist looks at their forearm and sees the "Fight Demons" tattoo. Then we see some of the soldiers on the helicopter are killed, and then it cuts to our player exploring the world. The updated visuals look amazing, and it's also rumored this time around the team is putting a bigger emphasis on story. No more details were shared at this event, and the team disappeared to work on the game. The developer returned to the public in November of 2020 and did an interview with the YouTuber Fonct. They were able to ask a lot of interesting questions about Sons of the Forest. I'm not going to cover every question here, only the ones I think are worthwhile, but his entire video will be linked down below if you are interested. He starts by asking about the origins of the project. The team said, quote, "We had originally planned to start on a new experimental project with a heavy focus on AI, unrelated to The Forest. As we started to design this new title, we realized some of the new concepts would also work for a Forest sequel. We decided to take the core DNA of The Forest, base building, fighting cannibals, looking for food, and then merge that gameplay with some of the new AI ideas we had been exploring, and Sons of the Forest started to emerge." Which is interesting that Sons of the Forest did not start out as a sequel to The Forest, but as a new system for the team to create advanced AI. Moving on, in terms of returning enemies, the team says they were split on the controversy around enemies like the worm, and for this game it will include a brand new cast of creatures and cannibals for the players to deal with, and the worm won't be returning. The team says they will likely include Steam Workshop support, which will include player-created mods. And when asked about other platforms and VR, the team says they still haven't confirmed any other platforms yet, which technically means we could still see the game released for consoles and VR at some point. And the last two questions were about the shotgun in the trailer and traps. The team says that melee will still be the focus in the sequel, and ammo will be very limited, so players will have to decide when it is worthwhile to use ammunition. In terms of traps, they are adding a lot more freedom in the types of traps that can be built, and will give players more creativity for how they defend their bases. The studio came back to the public's attention in December of 2020, a whole year after the reveal, to talk more about Sons of the Forest. A tweet was made which said, quote, "Hey everyone, our new trailer for Sons of the Forest will release this coming Wednesday, December 23rd. The tweet was made only a few days before December 23rd, and the post also included a new image of the game along with a new red logo. A few days later, on the 23rd, the trailer was released, and the team clarified further in a tweet saying that everything in the trailer is recorded in real time from the latest build of the game, which makes the trailer that much more interesting when we know it's what we can expect from the game at launch. The trailer starts by including a different angle of the helicopter crash from the first trailer. It moves through different seasons while building, scavenging, and defending the protagonist with a variety of weapons, including a handgun, crossbow, and taser. We also get to see more combat against cannibals and our player finding a hidden base or home of some sort where they have created masks to wear, which once again shows a bigger emphasis on the story and lore, and the trailer ends with a 2021 release window. Then, like clockwork, the team disappeared again for another year, except for 2 small interviews in January. The first interview we will discuss was also with Fonct, and this time was released in January of 2021. The first question was about the woman we see in the trailer, who in another answer we learn is named Virginia. The team had this to say about her, quote, "She doesn't give you missions or anything like that. You can try to have her like you, ignore her, scare her off. How you interact with her is up to each player, and we hope everyone will have really unique interactions with her." The next question was about game world size. The team says the game is about 4 to 5 times the size of the first game and is set on Site 2. But the Site 2 map has changed slightly since it was shown off in the forest. And I think as long as the team utilizes the world correctly and makes it feel lived in, the size could make a big difference and could have people playing this game for years and years. Moving on, the team addresses the shovel shown off in the trailer, and they say the shovel will be used for a variety of purposes, like in the trailer when it is used to find a bunker. Certain traps will also benefit from digging, along with digging to find cave entrances. Currently, the team says they are working on burying bodies if they can figure out how to make it look good. Finally, the team says there is a reason the game is called Sons of the Forest instead of The Forest 2, and the name ties into the new story, and it's more interesting than just adding a number at the end. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what the team means. And the final interview was also done in January of 2021, but with The Escapist. The team starts by discussing the story and how the narrative is crafted. The team says they will focus on visual storytelling from the first game. There will be very little dialogue in the game, and a focus on players uncovering the story versus being forced to sit through cutscenes. And I'm okay with this. I think it's the most effective way to tell a story without messing up pacing, and makes all of the information you learn feel that much more important. Next, the team discusses the weather system. They say, quote, "This time we've added dynamic seasons, which affect every part of the map. In winter, snow covers everything. In spring, maple leaves turn orange and fall from trees. In summer, salmon jump upstream and turtles lay eggs on the beach, for example. How to survive, what food sources you have, and the world's visuals all change dynamically, giving a different experience as the seasons come and go." Which is another welcome addition to the game, and I think a great use of development resources. The team talked more about their new AI system, and they revealed that it is called Veil, and it will allow enemies to become tired, angry, hungry, thirsty, bored, and more, which will influence their decisions. And finally, the team won't answer directly if Sons of the Forest will launch as an early access title or a full 1.0 release. I'm still thinking the game will launch in early access, and that could be the reason the game is not launching for consoles to start. There's also a whole new mechanic that will involve a 3D printer and crafting, which you will need resin for. It's another new mechanic the team has discussed briefly. And the next official update from the team was in October of 2021, with a tweet that said, quote, "Hey everyone, here are some screenshots from our upcoming game, Sons of the Forest. We had hoped to have this game out this year, but need more time, so it will be in early to mid 2022. Exact date will be announced with our third trailer in the next few weeks." So yes, like most games in the past few years, it was delayed. They definitely waited until the last minute to make this announcement, but at least they aren't rushing out this title. They also promise a third trailer and release some screenshots to tide fans over until then. And some of the screenshots include the protagonist using a head to scare off enemies, and a tall creature that blends in with the trees, which is all super interesting. And the third trailer was released in December of 2021. This trailer was similar to the ones that have come before. We get a look at the protagonist using a shotgun, more hunting, creating weapons, and eating animals, and additional combat is shown off along with the exploration in a cave using a flashlight. It all looks really good with the variety of areas, enemies, and animals, and I don't think the team even needs to hype up this game. I think most people understand what type of game this is and what to expect. And the trailer ends with revealing the updated release date, which is May 20th, 2022. Another point is when IGN posted the trailer, they note that the game will only launch for PC, at least to start, which the team has not said anything officially about besides in that one interview, but it would make sense. We don't know still if the game will launch in early access first, so there are still a lot of questions about this title, and it has been in the works for years, but luckily we don't have too much longer to wait to see what other secrets the team has in store for this title. Either way, that's where I'm going to end this video, and that is everything we know about Sons of the Forest. Make sure to like and share, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.